All right, all right, all right. Hopefully, folks, you're having a good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are in this great big world of ours. Hopefully, you're doing well. Just going to take a moment here, folks, to check my audio levels. And yeah, after that, we'll be all good to go. Give me a minute here, folks. Alrighty, folks, and we're back. So, folks, sit back, relax. We're going to continue through King Kong versus Tarzan. Last time we read through chapter 1, and I got to say, it was very enjoyable. It was a very enjoyable read. We only read through about 10 pages, but I got to say, this is a very fun book. So, to pick up where we left off, essentially, just to summarize, we just got through the little bit of the movie, the original 1933 movie, where King Kong was captured by Colonel Denham and, the whole crew of the Wanderer. Or at least in this book, it's called the Wanderer. I think in the movie, it might have been called the Venture. I don't know. Well, anyhow, folks, let's move on to chapter 2. Hopefully, we're having a good time wherever we are and whatever time of day it is. And let's get right into it. Chapter 2. Dawn was searing the grim summit of Skull Mountain as they finished the immense raft, built of split logs, balsa blocks, and bamboo, whose frame consisted of sawn timbers scavenged from towering trees that Kong had toppled in his elemental fury, as well as pieces of great double doors that had come loose when the beast breached it. The deep hollows creating the empty eye sockets of the unnatural granite death's head formation dominated its forbidding rock countenance. Those shadowy stone pits seemed to be staring off into space. The beast god of Skull Mountain Island, lay asprawl, draped in heavy chain, where scrub grass edged up against the beach. The native men were crowded around, fearful yet curious. Captain Engelhorn was explaining to them the way of things in their own language. If you help us drag Kong to the raft, he was saying, we will carry him away from Skull Island, where he will never terrorize you again. Save? Lord Kong, God of Skull Island, intoned the chief. No more. Kong is our slave. The notion of the mighty Kong reduced to being the slave of any man was astonishing to the natives. It showed in their coffee-colored faces the manner in which their jaws hung slack. Nervous eyes lanced up in the direction of the recumbent monster that was neither man nor ape, but something beyond both. Viewed up close, the ship's master could make out things in the monster's bristling fur that had escaped their notice before. Silver and gray hairs mixed in with the black ones. Numerous scars bespoke of victories long past. And on the creature's forearms, blood seeped from open wounds where the sharp teeth of a tyrannosaur had recently taken their awful toll. Gott in Himmel, muttered Engelhorn. How old must this creature be? Over by the raft, Jack Driscoll was giving Carl Denham a hard time in no uncertain terms. Oh, and real quick here, we got a nice special guest here. We have the Time Prophet. Very nice to see you. Hopefully you're having a good day. Hopefully you got some sleep too. Looking forward to seeing what else you have next for us. Hopefully your video was featured on It's a Trap Productions Indie Creator Monday, I think. Indie Monday. Anyhow, hopefully you're having a good time here. Over by the raft, Jack Driscoll was giving Carl Denham a hard time in no uncertain terms. Oh, let's see. What do we got here in the comment? I thought Edgar Rice Burroughs did Tarzan. Not sure. I am not familiar with the novelization of Tarzan. This here is King Kong versus Tarzan by Will Murphy. This came out in 2016, so it's a fairly recent book. Actually, looking at the back here, we do have EdgarRiceBurroughs.com. And let me just take a look at some of the ads they have in the back here. Let's see. Okay, yeah, they actually have a little bit here. Edgar Rice Burroughs. Okay, well, that's cool. I'll get through a lot of that later on once I finish this dang book. But anyhow, as you say, he wrote all the original Tarzan books and a lot of books about Mars. Very cool, very cool. So I'm going to continue reading. Over by the raft, Jack Driscoll was giving Carl Denham a hard time in no uncertain terms. This was your scheme all along, wasn't it? Carl, the first mate, demanded, to capture the prehistoric ape. Denham stuck out his chest. What of it? It's my expedition, my show. I had the hold outfitted for whatever we might capture and drag back to civilization. So he bagged Kong. That makes Carl Denham a better man than Frank Buck, doesn't it? We almost lost Anne in the doing of it, growled Driscoll. Denham waved the complaint away with a careless hand. Ah, that plucky little kid was in no special danger. That's a lie, and you know it, raged Driscoll, balling his fists. Denham rammed his jaw forward belligerently. You see here, First Mate Driscoll, I'm boss in this operation. What I say goes, get me? I chartered the Wanderer. Captain Anglehorn works for me, and you work for Anglehorn. As first officer, you don't get any more say-so than that. Driscoll fumed. Even if you can lug that overgrown monkey onto the raft, he stated tightly, do you really think the ship's cranes will be strong enough to lift him into the cargo hold? We'll soon enough see, now won't we? Snapped Denham, with the conviction of a determined man, one to whom no obstacle was too daunting. Captain Anglehorn came up on them, saying, It's all settled. The natives will help with the hauling. They possess strong backs and a burning desire to not be around Kong when he comes to. How long do you suppose that will be? Driscoll asked, snapping back to ship's business. Denham scratched his head. Hard to say. We got a few more hours at least. Let's hope it's enough, Driscoll barked. Oh, well, what do you know? We got another person here. In the chat, we have Jeremy5. Russia approved. Glad to have you here. Glad to have you here. Oh, what do you know? We got Moira Kitty, too. Darn it, I didn't realize you were on right now. Stupid YouTube. No worries. I just started probably about 5 or 6 minutes ago. And anyhow, even if somebody else is streaming during this time, it's just a little read and stream, you know. And hugs, hun. I'll hang out with you for the next 10 minutes. All right. Lovely. Lovely. Anyhow, I'm just reading through Chapter 2 of King Kong vs. Tarzan by Will Murphy. It's a nice book so far. But anyhow, let's see. Denham scratched his head. Hard to say. We got a few more hours at least. Let's hope it's enough, Driscoll barked. They had wound the great anchor chains around Kong's hairy wrists and ankles, and men of both races took up the weighty links, draping them across their bare shoulders. Jack Driscoll ramrodded the work gang, calling out orders, which Anglehorn translated into the native language, and so the dragging commenced. Much of it was over rain-slick grass, and the rest beach sand, so there was a positive traction at the start. The fine ground sand produced only a modest hindrance, thanks to the cushion of coarse hair covering Kong. This is how they built the pyramids of Egypt, Denham boasted, by the sweat of their brows. Kong breathed laboriously, oblivious to his fate. Breezes off the lagoon played with his stiff and seemingly lifeless hair, and set nearby palm crowns rustling with a dry macabre mutter. She means read fast, lol. Okay. If you say so. And so the dragging commenced. Much of this was over rain-slick grass and the rest beach sand. So there was positive traction at the start. The fine ground sand produced only a modest hindrance, thanks to the cushion of coarse hair covering Kong. This is how they built the pyramids of Egypt, Denham boasted, by the sweat of their brows. Nah. We won't be doing that fast, thank goodness. Anyhow, Ann Darrow watched from the starboard rail of the Wanderer in the company of Lumpy the cook and Ignatz, Lumpy's pet monkey, who was eyeing Kong with chattering. Some were still tense from her order. Do you think they will succeed? She asked. It, spat Lumpy, scratching his hairless head. He was attired in his habitual frayed trousers, bare to the waist. His stringy muscles and lithe, thin ribs made him look as if he were held together by baling wire. The top of his bald skull was so sunburnt that it resembled an angry light bulb. What do you mean? Asked Anne. Are you afraid those chains won't hold him? No, Miss Darrow. I'm afraid they will. And we'll have to transit half the Indian Ocean and all the Atlantic with that big beast in the ship's belly. It's a fearful thought, agreed Anne, grimacing. You ain't kidding. Who do you think is going to have to feed that overgrown gorilla all them choppy nautical miles? In spite of herself, Anne Darrow laughed. Then a troubled thought crossed her smooth brow, darkening her expression. What will they feed him, Lumpy? He's enormous. That's another worry I just inherited, sighed the cook. No one planned for a prize this big. I'll bet that behemoth of a baboon eats half his weight every darn day. The thought of such a voracious appetite made Anne shiver despite her best efforts. Turning away, she sought the comfort of her private cabin amidships. All righty. And we got to just take a little break there. I'm going to take a little water break. Swig of water for the working man, as good old Stone Cold Steve Austin says in his podcast. And we got good old Rookie Critic. We got the Rookie Critic. That is either King Kong or Cheetah has been eating too much. Yeah, Cheetah was the chimp from he was from Tarzan, the Tarzan. I remember because I think they had him in a couple movies, but anyhow. Very nice, very nice. So let me just continue here. We're on page 14. Almost, well, I wouldn't say almost done with the chapter. We're about a third through anyhow. A laborious hour had crawled by. The equatorial sun continued its climb toward noon. Here and there, great winged forms took to the air. Pterodactyls, their hatchet-shaped beaks, craned about on spindly necks, blood-red eyes seeking prey. The work gang stood in the mud and silt of the cove now, bare feet digging ankle-deep, chains splashing and sloshing as they hauled Kong onto the foundering raft, or tried to. It was futile. A ponderous foot all but shattered one corner of the raft, and they had to stop while repairs were made. Sailory oaths fouled the morning air. What if he wakes up in the middle of all this? Driscoll asked his skipper. The chains might hold, or they might not, allowed Englehorn, ruminative. Here's a big word here. Ruminatively. There we go, folks. That's a high use vocab word, so to speak. Ruminatively. Whew. Ruminatively. Okay. He had taken a plug of tobacco into his mouth and was energetically masticating it. This was the only outward sign that the seasoned sea captain was agitated. Normally, he was as placid as a cow. Then what? No choice but to shoot the brute. I've got a Tommy gun in my cabin. That would settle him. I half hope it will. Hauling that monster all the way to New York port is inviting trouble. I never signed on for this. Denham won't listen to reason, Englehorn muttered. He's got a fever that won't break. Driscoll scowled. Well, let's hope and pray we don't catch it in a fatal way. Get what I mean? Englehorn nodded somberly. He was an old man and had sailed all 7 seas and in many lesser bodies. But he had never run into a storm such as this, nor contemplated ferrying a cargo of the magnitude of Kong. But he had a contract with the brash filmmaker, and in the old salt's mind, it was as unbreakable as his word. While repairs continued, Carl Denham strolled over, looking every inch a man determined to have his way. Listen, Once we get that super gorilla onto the ship, we're going to have to figure out a way to keep him alive all the way back to New York. Engelhorn eyed the filmmaker with a trace of resistance. And how do you propose to do that, Mr. Denham? Another man would have been stopped cold by the question, not Carl Denham. Well, when you come down to it, he's just an overgrown baboon, ain't he? Just 30 times bigger. What do monkeys eat? Bananas, coconuts, forage. Then he'll need water. That should do it. Engelhorn looked dubious of countenance. With all due respect, Mr. Denham, we don't know what this Neanderthaler subsists on. Denham waved in the direction of the toiling, sweaty natives. They'll tell you. But whatever it is, we'll need a ton of it. A literal ton. Hell, maybe 2 tons. Acting as if he had solved the problem for all time, Carl Denham stormed off to supervise raft repairs. After the filmmaker was out of earshot, Jack Driscoll said to his skipper, "Who does he think he is? And who does he think we are, miracle workers? To gather up a ton of food for that gargantuan chimpanzee is the work of a week. We don't have a week. We may not have a day." Engelhorn sighed. "I can't disagree with your thinking, my boy. But Mr. Denham is paying the freight on this voyage, and we will have to do our best to satisfy him." Satisfy him? I'd like to take a poke at him. I'd like to take several. But I suppose when he came to, Denham would be just as stubborn as before. Engelhorn rumbled, "If you're so dead set on taking a poke at him, kindly hold off until we dock at Hoboken." Turning worried eyes towards the great hairy brute sprawled over the makeshift raft, Jack Driscoll muttered, "From the look of things, making New York City is a pipe dream. It's 3 months back. How are we supposed to keep Kong knocked out all that way? We're practically out of gas bombs. I think there are 4 left." "Well, Mr. Driscoll," Captain Engelhorn said heavily, "I have no answers for you. I can only tell you that we must try, and we will try. The honor of the Wanderer rests upon our trying." "It's suicide, I tell you," Driscoll said hotly. "It's madder than any voyage ever contemplated since Ahab. You know it, and I know it." "Can't you talk sense into his thick skull?" Engelhorn eyed the lowering granite countenance of Skull Mountain rearing up behind the beach-fronting native village, and moved his tobacco plug around in his mouth. "No more than I could appeal to that," he sighed. "If I could reach him, I would do so. But you know our situation. The Wanderer has been limping toward bankruptcy ever since the stock market crashed. She would have been sold at auction if it weren't for Carl Denham coming along with this mad enterprise." The skipper eyed his first mate levelly. "These are sink or swim times, Mr. Driscoll, and for better or for worse, we must all learn to swim in unaccustomed and uncomfortable waters." That ended the argument, so Jack Driscoll marched off to finish supervising the raft work. An hour later, the colossal raft was fully buoyant once more, and so the hauling resumed. Kong slumbered through it all, showing no signs of awakening. The possibility, however, hovered over the entire work crew. The perspiration that soaked their bodies was not entirely the work of the tropical sun. They worked with an iron will, but deep in their haunted eyes there was fear. It was a terrible thing to see, but it lent extra strength to their bones and muscles and fortified their resolve to complete their preposterous task. By dint of hauling and maneuvering the massive raft, they managed to get Kong's monster feet into the water and carefully positioned the floundering raft beneath them. Blocks of balsa wood had been hastily hacked and shaped by blade machetes. Many were inserted into the interstices of the makeshift flotation device. Crew stood by to add more. There were several terrible moments where they thought the monster's weight would be too much for the raft to bear, for no sooner was Kong jockeyed into position than he sank like the Rock of Gibraltar. Whether it was the monster's own natural buoyancy or the buoyancy of the raft, they never knew, but after beast and raft had slipped into the waters of the cove, both arose once more. Kong was soaked to his bristling roots, but still he did not move. The trichloride gas had been potent stuff. For 15 long minutes they watched for signs that the trauma of immersion had stirred the instinct for survival in the giant anthropoid. Instead, Kong floated serenely atop the fantastic log raft. Carl Denham gave a triumphant shout and exclaimed, "There she floats! I told you it would work. Now all we have to do is float him to our ship." Oh, and well, we got AFK Bard. Very cool. Didn't expect to see you, but I'm very glad you're here. Obviously, I didn't expect many people just because of the time, but anyhow, very glad you're all here. So, continuing here, let's see. Jack Driscoll and Captain Englehorn exchanged uneasy glances, but neither man's expression changed a particle. "That's all we have to do," parroted Driscoll in an undertone. "Just float that monster out through the breakwater rocks. Our ship can't safely navigate, and winch him up into the hold. That's all. Shouldn't take more than 10 minutes, a half hour tops." Driscoll's laugh was low and ragged. Edgy desperation threaded it. By this junction, the natives who had lived their entire lives in awe of the powerful Kong were equally impressed by the white men who had come far beyond the blue horizon, which formed the boundary of their life experience and knowledge. Oh, wow. We even got the Gilk Man. We even got Thomas. And, whew, well, look at that. 9:30 for a time profit. All righty. Here we go. They had seen their beast god brought low, and now Kong was being floated off as if he were mere felled lumber. It was astounding. At the same time, they did not care to be around when the dreaded Kong again opened his eyes. So they ran their dugouts into the water, and using the vine and grass ropes they had woven by hand, lashed their canoes to the edges of the raft, and prepared to paddle Kong out through the treacherous shoals to the waiting tramp steamer. Turning to his first mate, Captain Englehorn advised, "We'll use the motor launch to guide the raft along. The natives and their paddles should help us steer clear of the rocks." Driscoll grunted. "You make it sound as easy as baking an apple pie." "That's enough, Mr. Driscoll," said Englehorn stiffly. "We have committed to this enterprise, and we must see it through." "Even if it costs every man-jack of the crew their miserable lives," Driscoll muttered. "I understand, Skipper. I'm on your side. We got a job to do, and we'll do it, come hell or high water, and maybe worse than that." While they maneuvered the motor launch into position at the head of the sprawling raft, a strange figure floated out of the jungle and watched the proceedings intently with thin eyes. This figure was short in stature, dressed in barbaric finery, and stood so still no human. An old woman, her age impossible to guess, ancient features, a webwork, only the opal black eye and to harbor vitality. She was not as dark as many of the natives on Skull Mountain Island, although her skin possessed a weathered and tanned hue that suggested she was a native of this lost island. She belonged to another category entirely, one possessing high cheekbones and wise eyes. Her hair was a thin cloud resembling milkweed. After absorbing all that she could, the ancient crone drifted down from the grassy verge on which she stood, her sandaled feet padding with the casual confidence of one who walked upon her native soil. She had studied the white men intently, and by some instinct walked up to one she felt would listen. It was not Captain Englehorn, nor was it Carl Denham. Instead, she approached Jack Driscoll, who stood apart from the others, smoking a cigarette with furious intensity. "You cannot do this blasphemy you contemplate," she said without preamble. Driscoll turned, and the cigarette fell from his shocked lips. "Who in mercy's name are you?" he demanded, stamping out the smoldering butt, lest it start a grass fire. "I am called by many names, all of which means storyteller. I am the keeper of the history of this island. This is the land of my ancestors, going back untold generations. We are called the Tagatu. Call me Penjang. Call me Penjaga." Her English was strangely accented, the vowels too round and her consonants too flat. Yet the old woman was understandable. "You're not one of these local boys," remarked Driscoll thoughtfully. "I am the guardian of Kong." Jack Driscoll couldn't help himself. He burst out laughing. You? You don't look like you could keep a parrot, never mind a 30-foot gorilla. Say, how do you come to speak English? You are not the first white men to brave Skull Mountain Island. Many have come. Most have perished here. Pirates, seafarers, common castaways. All righty. I'll see you around, Thomas. Have a good lunch. And yes. Thank you for telling me about Monko. Oh, well, that's nice. I'm assuming that the stream, I guess. I don't know. But let's see here. Driscoll nodded to himself. The old map Englehorn has in his cabin must have been made by one of those jokers. So what is it you want? Her voice turned threatening. "Leave this place. Abandon Kong. Go far away. Do not return. Tell no one. It will be better for all." "I don't mind telling you, old woman," grunted Driscoll, his eyes windy. "You and I are in complete agreement, but I'm not running the show, and the decision's been made. Kong's shipping out with us. Nothing can stop that. Kong will not survive a journey of any duration." "My sentiments exactly," clucked Driscoll. "But what can I do about it? Nothing. I'm just a cog in a machine that's about to break down from overload. Nothing you or I can do about it either." Penjaga the storyteller regarded Jack Driscoll with her wise eyes for a very long time without speaking. Thin lips moved as if trembling on the edge of speech, but she kept her counsel. All during this, she studied the first mate's features, as if measuring every square inch of his sun and wind-burned epidermis. When at last she spoke, Penjaga had changed her portentous tone. "Kong will not survive long in your hands. He has wounds that need mending, wounds I know how to heal. But I can help him overcome your foolishness. Heed me, and I will help you You white men keep him alive for as long as necessary. You can? Driscoll returned brusquely. Mind telling me how? Dangling from a leather belt was a faded green pouch that looked as if it were sewn of dinosaur skin. Reaching down, the old woman lifted it into view and said, I possess herbs that will keep him drowsy and weak, as well as a needle and catgut, with which to sew up his wounds. I know how to tame the Great One. Is that right? Barked Driscoll. Yes, I speak the truth. My people knew all there is to know about Kong. My ancestors long ago built the great wall that contained Kong. To preserve his life, I will share this knowledge with you. Yes. That's a good one. That got me laughing. Yeah. Up to this point, Jack Driscoll had not been taking the old woman seriously, but hearing her steady tones slowly altered his thinking. Do you know what the big ape likes to eat? Penjaga nodded. I do, and if you wish to carry him to a faraway island, you will require this knowledge. Also, you will need me to direct my people while you are here. Therefore, I make you this bargain. Take me with you, and I will keep Kong alive. What's in it for you? I told you, I am the lawful guardian of Kong. I am also the storyteller of my people. Kong's story is intertwined with that of my people. I must keep it safe and see events to their end if we are to survive, for Kong's fate will influence our destiny. I am old, but my tale and that of my people is not yet concluded. I will go with you, and together we will keep Kong alive. Well, said Driscoll ironically, if you put it that way, I guess it's settled then. The old woman failed to detect the humor in the first mate's voice. Yes, it is settled. Penjaga will go where Kong goes. The seriousness with which the old woman presented herself infiltrated Jack Driscoll's skeptical mind, but it was the practicality of her offer that in the end persuaded him. Why don't you follow me? He told her in a suddenly sober tone of voice. Let me introduce you to some fellows. I'm getting the idea that you might come in handy after all. All righty. And that is the end of chapter 2. Hopefully you guys are doing well. I'm really enjoying this book. I'm liking the stuff here so far. This is a very big, hefty book here, a big, chunky book, so to speak. It is 87 chapters, and it's very dense. But anyhow, I'm just going to go through whatever else I'd like to go through. And yes, we will have to keep this quiet from Happy Dinosaur. He's never been a huge Kong fan, so to speak. And, not since Kong did what he did to Happy's uncle. Oof. It was a bit of a dreadful affair there. But anyhow, yay, good book. I have got some of Edgar Burroughs' books on Mars. He did Princess of Mars. Oh, that's nice. I like that. I haven't read that book, but didn't that book get adapted into John Carter of Mars, I think? I think it was probably a very loose adaptation, but I remember that movie coming from Disney. But I got to say, this is a really fun little book, and you can definitely expect more of this in the future. So here's a little thing about Edgar Rice Burroughs Incorporated. So it was founded in 1923 by Edgar Rice Burroughs. As one of the first authors to incorporate himself, Edgar Rice Burroughs Incorporated holds numerous trademarks and the rights to all literary works of the author, still protected by copyright, including stories of Tarzan of the Apes and John Carter of Mars. The company has overseen every adaptation of his literary works in film, television, radio, publishing, theatrical stage productions, licensing, and merchandising. The company is still a very active enterprise and manages and licenses the vast archive of Mr. Burroughs' literary works, fictional characters, and corresponding artworks that have grown for over a century. The company continues to be owned by the Burroughs family and remains headquartered in Tarzana, California, the town named after the Tarzana Ranch Mr. Burroughs purchased there in 1918, which led to the town's future development. That's pretty cool. Very, very cool. Yes, it was. I have read that book too. All right. Let's see. Yep. My thing is being a little slow on highlighting comments. There we go. John Carter was actually very good. That's cool. I remember the movie. Oh man, when did that movie come out? John Carter. I think the movie came out. What year? Was that in like 2011? 2012. Came out in 2012. Yeah. Um, had a little audio issue there, folks. Our internet issue, which, yeah, the movie was a flop, but it was good and had a lot of elements from the books. It's gone quiet here, all quiet on the Western Front. And yeah, no worries. It was weird, a bit of a issue there with StreamYards. But that was probably for the best that I finished reading that chapter. Yeah, fun little thing here. I have, as my bookmark, I have a postcard from Cabazon. If you're unfamiliar with Cabazon, that is a place with dinosaurs, the Cabazon dinosaurs. And I'm just going to show you an image as we start to wind down here. I saw Angelus Draven down in the chat there. Hail, Angelus Draven. Hail. And glad to have you here. I'm just getting all starting to close it all out, so to speak. I think, luckily, I did not get eaten by King Kong. I read a lot on my Kobo. You can't bend the page, lol. Kobo. I'm assuming that's a tablet of some sort. But yeah, I got a nice little bookmark, which is just a postcard from Cabazon. Cabazon is down here in California, I believe. Yeah, it's in California. Yeah, Koalafornia. No, it's in California, and it's a really fun place. I love it. It is a place that I always loved going to as a kid. Let me find a cool picture here. Yeah, that's a pretty good one. Let's see. Let's get a big picture here. Yeah. Here's a good one. Here's a good one. Let me open that in a new tab, and then I'll share that for you, folks. And share screen, Chrome tab. All righty. Oh, dang. Let me take off the the little overlay. Or not even overlay that. Yeah, that is an overlay. Anyhow. So here's the cabazon. Le cabazon. And originally they have a large sauropod. I think they just call it a brontosaurus. They got a brontosaurus. They got a T Rex. Those were originally two of the first things they had there, and then from there they kind of added some new things here and there. Gosh, it's been a long time since I've been to Cabazon. No, Kobo is an electronic book reader like the Amazon one, but you can read non-DRM stuff. Oh, okay. I can even read in the dark because it has a lighted screen and the battery lasts a month because it uses e-ink. Oh, okay. Oh, isn't that the place in Pee-wee's Big Adventure? Yeah, it was in Pee-wee's Big Adventure. I can see Happy Dinosaur in the background. Yeah. Cabazon is really such a fun place. When I was a kid, my family, we would go out to Lake Havasu down in Arizona. And on the drive there, we would pass by Cabazon. And basically, it's kind of just a tiny little place. Now they have a casino down in that area, but you still have the Cabazon dinosaurs. And whenever we would pass by Cabazon, it was always an incredibly fun time. It was always fun. I was a little kid at the time, so whenever I saw the dinosaurs, I was like, oh, dinosaurs, dinosaurs, the dinosaurs, the dinosaurs. You know, it was like that scene in that movie, We're Back, a dinosaur story. With, you know, that cartoon movie with John Goodman as the T-Rex. It was like that. I was like a little kid, so excited to see this, to see the dinosaurs. And nowadays they actually have a whole electronic dinosaur museum, and it's actually really neat. Here's a picture of the museum door or museum sign here, which is really cool. One of these days, you know, eventually I'll have to go and do a little bit of a video just walking through Cabazon because it's really such a cool place. Maybe next year, but you know, here's obviously a new addition. This is a sign, museum. This is the tail end of one of the dinosaurs. I'm assuming the Brontosaurus because of the long tail, and you see the T-Rex in the background there. But there's a lot of fun stuff there, and yeah, you know, honestly, I couldn't really say too much. Here's another picture of some of the newer acquisitions that they have on display at Cabazon at their electronic dinosaur museum, and this is not bad. He's a little doofy looking, and then you have, you know, further to the right, you have a smaller, older, we'll call it vintage representation of a dinosaur. Let's see what we got here. I think Tarzan and King Kong will become friends. I hope so. You know, it's going to be fun. You know, taking a look at this, the little cover here, the cover art. I'm hoping they end on friendly terms. You know, here's hoping because I mean, you know, obviously this art is from Joe DeVito, really good artist in particular. But yeah, these elephants, just looking at that in comparison to King Kong, I don't think they're going to do so well. I think Tarzan's going to need a bigger spear. Although obviously, I don't think Tarzan's going to kill King Kong. It seems kind of counterproductive. It doesn't seem like Tarzan's thing personally, but anyhow, vintage happy. Yeah, yeah. There's a lot of interesting stuff there with as paleontology and scientific theory has progressed, and as science has progressed in particular. There's been a lot of advances in theories and in evidence showing that dinosaurs had feathers to some degree, and obviously depended on the breed of dinosaur, the species, the breed of dinosaur. Yeah, I got a Chihuahua Rex over here, the species of dinosaur, of course. Yeah, yeah, that's right. The elephants are pretty tiny looking. Looking at Tarzan there, if you compare that, it's a tiny little elephant. But anyhow, and oh yeah, we got Atomic Ranger 25 hashtag creative crossover. Yeah, I think I never knew about this book until very recently, probably about last month. I finally started looking around because figured I'd like to read a bit. And really, I'd have to attribute that to AFK Bard, just with her streams where she's been reading and having fun doing that to really help to lead me down this little rabbit hole. And yeah, yesterday I watched Dragonheart. So, it's been fun. Watched Dragonheart the other day and found out there was a novelization of that. A much shorter book. It was only about 260 pages. But yeah, I ordered that on Amazon, a paperback version of it. Can't wait for that to come in on Wednesday. I'll probably read that later, probably next year. Because I'll probably do some dragon videos. Either if not this year, then next year. But anyhow. Yeah, actually, it's very interesting. And just kind of doing a little bit of research on Dragonheart just in my spare time since I picked up the 5-movie DVD set of it. I was very, very interested, very entertained. Yes, Sean Connery. And I'll tell you, rewatching that movie, like it's been a long time since I've watched Dragonheart. And it's a very funny movie. It's very funny. A lot of it's intentional. A lot of it is intentionally humorous. And some of it is kind of unintentionally funny to me. But I really enjoyed watching it. Sean Connery was very good. And the CGI, the computer animation on the dragon itself, during the day it's noticeable, but during the night shots, during the shots where there's rain, it looks really nice. And just all the different things were very enjoyable to watch and sample during watching that movie. But yeah, they used to novelize all movies back then. Yeah. And it was interesting just kind of reading through at least the Wikipedia. The novelization has a few more things. It goes a little more in depth at some parts. Obviously, you have some thoughts, some POV shots from the characters, all that kind of stuff. A lot of it wasn't CGI. Some was animatronics. Yes, I realize that, Time Prophet. Thank you very much. And yeah, there's a lot of great stuff. A lot of great stuff to enjoy with that. But anyhow, folks, I'm going to call this a stream. I've had a fun little time reading, and I've had a fun time talking with you guys. Hopefully, you guys have a good rest of your day or rest of your evening, wherever you are. And yeah, I'll see you later, folks. Bye-bye.